What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Edison Club podcast. I'm your host, Mike, sitting down here today with a special guest named Sasha. Very glad to have him on. Sasha, how's it going, man?
It's going well. How about yourself?
It's definitely going good, and I appreciate you sitting down here with me today. This has been an episode that I've wanted to do for quite some time. I've known Sasha for a little bit over a year now. We actually met at Picante TCG in Greensboro during their first ever Switch tournament that they had, and throughout my run of that day, I did get paired up against Sasha and got absolutely destroyed. This guy is the zombie goat. So I've been looking forward to getting him on the podcast for a while and just kind of talking about some old formats, talking about his favorite decks, favorite cards, and just really just having a good conversation about Yu-Gi-Oh! So we're actually going to go ahead and start this off with a question that I pretty much ask everyone that I have as a guest here on the podcast. And that question is, how did you start playing Yu-Gi-Oh?
I started back, I don't think it was right at the beginning, but I think it was maybe probably around 2003, 2004. I remember there was this mall that they would have tournaments, and that was sort of when Invasion of Chaos was out. And there'd be it was this really cool store where you could go, you could they had TV set up, you could play Halo 2 also, which was really fun. And yeah, I remember I played some. That was sort of the Chaos format with Yada and stuff. And then I first went to locals in 2005. I remember. I think that was around the time that that was around the set with Sacred Phoenix, so a set with Lightning Vortex and stuff. I played Cat with my friends, but I didn't really play in tournaments until after really later, around the time of when Cyber Dragon was out, and the set with Pot of Avarice and the Dark World monsters in 2005. The format with Cyber Dragon, right when it came out, after that was when Cyberstein was out too, and because Trinade was at 3 and Megamorph and Limit Removal were at 3, you literally could just go. You just every deck had to side revoke because it's just here's 16,000 Cyber End and Cyberstein got emergency banned because it was just so outrageous. Because also Last Will was out, so you could just go Exile Force, Last Will, Cyberstein.
Wow, yeah, that's actually crazy. I also remember people telling me about how they would go summon BLS, use effect to banish your monster, and then metamorphosis the BLS into Cyber Twin Dragon, and then just attack 2 times.
Yeah, so in GOAT format there was one event. I think James R has talked about it. SJC Boston, where the Cyber Dragon set was legal. That's the only one because that was right before the ban list, and because Cyber Dragon completely changes the meta so much because you can just go Cyber Dragon Metamorphosis into Balter, or you can have Demock and then Metamorphosis into Cyber Twin, defusion the Demock, Metamorphosis it into Gatling Dragon or something. Yeah, that was very, very absurd. So GOAT tournament GOATs today doesn't allow that. So they cut off at the set with Break Control, which is the last one. Oh, because also it would just be the easiest light too, because you could just there'd be no reason to play because nowadays most GOAT decks don't even play things like Air Knight anymore because it's not. You're basically just playing Thunder. It would just be a better Thunder Dragon in a way.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. While we're on this topic, do you remember the first deck that you ever played?
Yeah, I don't. For locals, I think it was just some sort of warrior type of thing because the main format I started playing was, or maybe it was Monarchs. It was one of those two because it was the format after GOAT where everything got limited, which is a really weird format where Smashing Grounds for a few weekends literally cost $30 because nobody had them. The deck, my favorite thing about that format is the card pool was so bad that decks that just would be okay, here's a warrior deck. I'm gonna main deck the gold Dark World monster just because I know every deck is playing Spear Reaper and Dawn. So just off the chance that it gets discarded. Because that also was a hilarious thing where I remember I went to a regional of that format and nobody had really known about the whole time seal loop yet because nobody had tried it. Because Tsukiyomi was at 1, they didn't ban it. And then some guy was just time seal looping with people with Mask of Darkness, and it was amazing. Because I just was so... because they... So I think, I remember Mirror Force was banned, BLS was banned, Pot, Graceful, and Duo was banned, but Confiscation was unbanned though. So that was another weird thing where Confiscation was like, think about Dust in Edison. Confiscation, you can, if you draw on the first turn, you pay 1,000 and you can send any card to the graveyard. So you can just, like, let's say you're going first and you're playing against Monarchs. You can just take whatever Soul Exchange, Break Control, whatever they have, and it gives you a big advantage. But yeah, that was the format I got my first top in, because I remember I played just like a Monarch deck with like Pot of Avarice and stuff, and like Spies and Decoy Cheese. And I remember I got the top 8, and I was like really hoping to get one of the like original top 8 mats, like the classic ones, but it had like I got like the zombie dragon starter deck one, and then I was able to trade it for one of the original ones to one of my friends, so that was cool.
That is really cool. Is that the one that you still haven't played on?
It's not the exact one. I have like a different version of that one because I had like all my friends sign it, so I just keep that one put away. But yeah, that is mostly the one I use.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And something I've actually been wanting to ask you for a while is, whenever I see you play, you have like a lot of really nice cards. Like, you have multiple CP Bottomless, multiple CP Reapers. Did you buy all of that when you got into the format, or is that just stuff that you kind of had from back in the day?
So some of them I have held on to, but like, it is funny. So like one, I remember one event where I met our friend Adam, and I was just like, we played our regional, and he ended up winning. I think he like attacked our game with 3-1 for one game, and then beat me to another game. And then I just like traded him a bunch of super metas because they were like, it was banned, so it was only like $15, and then I traded him for some from Destiny Hero stuff. But yeah, a lot of the stuff I've held on to some, but I just like, Ultimate's my favorite rarity, so I like getting Ultimates when possible.
Yeah, Ultimates are definitely the nicest rarity. I'm actually kind of still stuck on the fact that you were able to get Super Metamorphosis for $15.
No, because it had been banned for 3 years. So also, the thing you have to remember is, when the CP Supers came out, because it was like a new thing that they were doing, I think it was like 2006, basically every week at every locals, there was about 40 packs being pulled. So the Supers weren't that expensive because there were so many of them in circulation. Because every single local, like if you went to a Saturday or Friday local, maybe first got 10 packs and then second got 6 or something. They were, because that was under like the old like upper deck system, where they didn't, I don't think they realized that like those things would become as valuable as they did.
Yeah.
So like, even like something, for example, like Super Magician of Faith or Super Spear Reaper or Super Book of Moon, that probably cost $25 when it came out, because there were so many of them that it wasn't like, it was super hard to find them, because there were more being released each week, basically. I think also after the pandemic, because those things have gotten like very expensive since the pandemic. They used to be about half as much as expensive, or like less. Like, 'cause I remember Adam was saying like before COVID, he had gotten like 3 ultra, like the TP4 decrees for like 90 each or something like that, and now they're like 450.
I don't have any TP decrees, but I do have the Hobby League ones, and I wish that I could use them more, because they're so thick and they're so warped. I'm just always afraid I'm going to get like a game loss or something for using them.
Those look really clean. I don't have any of those. I have 2 of the TP6s in my GOAT deck, which I think it look kind of cool, but I've always wanted to get a TP2 Morphing Jar, but they're just insane. Even like the sort of messed up ones now are like $1,500. Like an MP to HP one is $1,500.
Yeah, that's wild that within the game right now there are cards that are like moderately played, heavily played to damaged, that can actually just still be worth so much money. Like my Ghost Rare Honest that I had, they were actually like $115 for damaged, which is kind of just insane that that's a thing. But you've played through so many Yu-Gi-Oh formats throughout your lifetime. Do you have a favorite Yu-Gi-Oh format?
I remember, so I stopped for a while. So after 2008 Nationals, which was Glad Beast format, I stopped for a while and then came back around the time of like zombie format, like Black Wings, like sort of like right before Edison. And then the last format I played was, I think it was Dragon Rulers. I remember I was playing like Evil Swarm or something, and it wasn't very good. And then I just sort of stopped, and then I just started building old formats because I enjoyed that more.
Were you playing the ruler format where we had Return from the Different Dimension and Sixth Sense exist at the same time?
No. I wasn't. I only briefly. I remember I was playing Go then too. Like there was Go tournaments in like Charlotte that I went to a few times. But the thing is I was really the '08 Nationals, like, so like before '08 Nationals they had the emergency ban list where they put Dark Armed at, or they put Allure at 2 and they banned Dimensional Fusion and they put Return at 1. Before that, Dark Arm was like way insanely the best deck. So there were 3 main decks, and it was like Dark Armed, it was a little weekend, and then Glad Beast, which was absolutely insane, with 3 Cold Wave, 3 Solemn, and then Lightstorm was decent, but their charge wasn't out yet though. So Glad Beast just was so dominant in that format because being able to just Cold Wave and then Test Tiger, and this was even before War Chariot, which is really crazy because that deck was just so insanely good. And at 2007 Nationals, I played Perfect Circle, and I didn't do good in the main event, but I won like this one of the side event like regional things, so I like got my invite like the next day after Nats. And I remember it was so crazy because that was also the format where people could play Demise OTK, which was incredibly annoying because all they had to do really was just have like True Nade, Demise, and then Advanced Ritual Art and Doomdozer and Megamorph. That was 8,000, and because there were no Gores wasn't out yet, so there's no way to defend yourself. So you sort of just have to hope that you live long enough that you can kill them fast enough. Because Advanced Ritual Art, you just send 2 normal bugs to the graveyard, and then you special it. And then you pop the field, you special Doomdozer, and you Megamorph it, and that's exactly 8,000.
I actually remember people talking about that, and apparently they would play like the 2 Insect Knights, which I guess is kind of like your food for Doomdozer.
Yeah, because they had to be level 4. They had to be normal monsters. So you could also send like the level 8 bug guy, because you need to remove a bug for Doomdozer to get to 8,000.
That's crazy.
So I remember. So I'm playing this guy in the finals, and I like somehow like missed Snipe Hunter like 3 or 4 times, but still end up winning. And that was like I really like Reverse Circle format because like it just was fun. I remember I borrowed D-Draws and Malicious because I didn't have any, but you could just go like D-Draw Malicious and some Vestalis on the first turn, and like things like that. Also, you could Metamorphosis was still out, so you could yeah, that was nice. And Brain Control was at 3, which is really crazy. Yeah, because that was like right when Card Trooper came out. So Card Trooper, like a lot of decks are just like Monarch with Card Trooper, where you just get advantage, and then you could just play Machine Dupe and just basically you just mill so many cards, and then when they kill your Card Troopers, you draw 3.
Yeah, is that the old Troop Dupe Scoop format there?
Yeah, it's sort of like it's like around the same format. It was a little bit later, but yeah, because Card Trooper got limited to 1 like on the next format. Yeah. But that's when Disc Commander was still out, which was really insane because of like premature and call and stuff, where you just get a huge amount of advantage.
Yeah, I see. You also told me an interesting story yesterday about when you had the chance to play for an SJC Gold Sark. Do you kind of want to tell us about that here?
I'll tell it, but it's definitely painful. Yeah, so
it's definitely painful.
There was a SJC in Durham. I think this was 2007 or so, and I got like selected to be one of like the random like public events playoff thing. So, and like the winner got like a SJC Gold Sark, which was crazy. So I won the first round, and then I'm playing against this guy game 2. I think we're both playing like Perfect Circle because that's just was the format then. And then so this is like right the week of when the premium pack cards came out. So you like Legacy of Yada, Shield Crush, Marshmallon. But like I hadn't really seen anybody play those cards this weekend, so I wasn't like expecting it. So game 3, I have like 2 cards in hand, a back row, like Ryza as follows. I think I have like 800 or 900 or something. And he just has like 1 monster. and I don't think like, oh, it could be Marshmallon because I'm like, all right, well, I haven't seen it all weekend, even though it would become played like in per circle, like in like the later formats. So I just attacked into it and I lost because of it, and it was definitely like really really painful. Just because I don't really blame myself that much because it was such a weird situation where if I had obviously seen more people playing it over the weekend, I wouldn't have been as surprised by it. But because I hadn't seen it either of the two games, and then it was just the first weekend, so a lot of people didn't even have the card anyway. Weirdly, it was like $20 because it was like pretty good, especially in like the later pharmaceutical formats because you could attribute it to someone lad, and it's also just kind of hard to kill. You have to like soul exchange it or Ryza it or something, or it's not a bad card at all. But it wasn't really played in that format. Yeah, because also it's way harder to kill than Reaper because you can't just target it. You actually have to clear it somehow.
Yeah.
You have to like Kaius it or something.
Yeah, and then inevitably Marshmallon will get put to 1, which I guess is just kind of the same reason why they put Reaper to 1. It's just too hard to get over.
I think it might have gotten put to 1 on release like Grand Mole did. So when Grand Mole came out, there was no time where you could put more than 1 Grand Mole.
Really?
I might be one of that. Yeah, so when they printed Grand Mole, they immediately put it to 1. So they didn't want people having like multiple of those with just loops of being able to just bounce everything. And that was even before synchros were out. Yeah, so a thing that they didn't end up putting to 1, have you heard about this story? So when Stratos came out, there was like one event where people played 3 Stratos because they didn't expect that people would be able to like get all of the cards from like the manga thing in time. Because it wasn't allowed to be like it wasn't officially like widespread release until like the following week, and they didn't think of, oh, we're gonna have an emergency ban list for this 1 week and put Stratos at 1. So Diamond Dude Turbo with 3 Stratos is just insane because it makes a deck that deck was already very very good. That's a deck where you sort of just turbo everything. You want to end on a board of like Diamond Dude, Stratos, Jinzo, Democ, and you just add Vortex back and you pop them per game because you remove the Warriors with the Phoenix Blade. But yeah, there was one event where there was 3 Stratos lethal, and it was crazy because it was definitely like an unintended consequence of like for something like Konami. I feel like Konami wouldn't have allowed that. That was like a classic like upper deck, like, oh, we're not really expecting people to go buy the copies of the card and use them before they're officially released to everyone else.
Yeah, actually at Richmond, Cameron was kind of telling us something about this, and it was like Airblade Turbo. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, so it's basically a deck where it's like it got even better when Dark Arm came out, but basically you're just playing. Also, Magical Stone was huge in it because it made it a lot easier because you discard like 2 Warriors, and then you'd have like Malicious, and you like Monster Gate and Reasoning until you get to like Democ, and then you defusion your Warriors, and then you can just like basically you're just trying to go for game through whatever because you'll have access to any spell in your graveyard pretty much when you summon Democ. And wow. And there's nothing like Gore, so there's no even something like DD Crow isn't going to really stop you because you have 3 defusions and you have Magical Stone also. Yeah, do you know Jeff Daniels?
That sounds really familiar. I don't know.
He's a friend of like Chase, and he was at one of the Switch tournaments, but he had back-to-back regionals where he went 8-0 and 9-0 with that deck, losing like 1 game total the entire weekend, or both weekends total, just with that because there weren't good sidecars against decks like that then because there weren't basically you just unless you like dust shoot them or mind crush them or something like that. That deck needed so little to get going that it was just very easy to just. I remember I played against that deck one time after Dark Arm came out, and I literally lost. I think it might have been like 6 minutes. I got 2-0'd so badly because with Dark Arm you can also bring back Dark Lord Zerato, which you can discard a Dark and pop their whole field. So you can end with like Dark Lord Zerato, Jinzo, Democ, and that's 8,000 right there. Yeah, it's like it's like an old school. I don't think like everybody played it because some people were like, yeah, like why would I could just play a more consistent version where I play like Monarchs and stuff. Like that's what I played.
Yeah.
Because you can have more control where you can have like Wing Blast and Rise though was like a really sick combination. But that deck was really really good though, and it was another thing where it was also like not very many people played it because Magical Stone was an ultra from a champion pack, and it was like $180. Because the whole thing is you couldn't use spell reproduction because you need to be able to discard the monsters to remove them, or discard Demock and then premium or something like that. It had to specifically be able to discard any card, not just spells.
Wow, yeah, I didn't know any of this. I actually feel like I'm in school right now, and I'm just like getting taught and like educated. It's pretty cool, actually.
Honestly, you're glad to not play during
That's I'm glad I never got
What's
Airblade.
really funny about the Street Stratus thing is even with one Stratus, the deck was insane because it just played E-Call and multiple rows. So you still had like you had access to Diamond Dudes so easily. Yeah, because what you want to try to do is you want to try to get you like de-draw Malicious, and then you play Monster Gate, and you're slowly trying to just get Diamond Dude or Demock on the field. And that, but I always found it weird is because like its win condition, it seemed like it wouldn't work all the time because it involved just getting like 4 monsters and then having Lightning Vortex. But somehow that really worked like most of the time because there was nothing like there was no things like spies then, or even things like because that deck also it would just get the Trunade or Heavy or Jinzo out really easily. So
Yeah, so basically the deck was kind of like reminiscent of Dragon Turbo, where you just get to basically do whatever you want to do.
because it was a lot basically also like because the Phoenix Blade banishes warriors, so you can ban it. Let's say you have like 2 Diamond Dudes, Malicious, and Stratos banished. If you play Defusion, you can pop 3 back row on the field because of Stratos' first effect.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. What would you say is your favorite format that you've ever played in?
Oh, I enjoy Goat and Edison a lot. I would probably say for like a not I like Tengu as well. Tengu's fun just because there's a lot of different decks, even though there are certain things that are really annoying in that format, like TGs and three skill drains, and also agents. Agents are just they're sort of like the Black Wings of Edison in a way because deck plays so many boss monsters. I really like this wasn't like the healthiest format because a lot of the problems that got fixed for Edison, but the format before Edison where you could play where Lightstorm was at like you had like 3 charge, 3 honest, 3 Lumina, 3 Necrogardener, but then zombies had 3 Mizuki, 3 Brionic, 3 Tragodia, and 3 Burial. Or 2 Mizuki, yeah. That format was really fun. I enjoyed playing zombies in that format a lot because it was crazy because you could just summon Brionic and it didn't even matter if it got bottomless or whatever, or torrential because you just had 2 more.
Yeah.
That it was just you could just completely just pop it out and just like oops, like yeah, like you can't do that in Edison because especially if you synchro with Goblin Zombie because you don't get priority with the mandatory effect. But it was that Lightstorm was insanely good in that form just because having 3 honest and 3 charge and 3 Lumina and 3
that sounds like my kind of format right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I also like yeah, those some of like the older formats are fun. Like the second Perfect Circle format where it's a little bit more grindy, where you have only 2 malicious. I like that format too. I mean, it is annoying because Crush Card is in that format, which is can be very like have 9 games because you can just lose like 3 or 4 cards. Or you can hit their Lightning Arch Dragon and then it activates and it pops their whole field.
Yeah, we've talked about that a few times. When you told me that the first time, I was like, what? I read Lad and I was like, what the heck? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, gets destroyed in hand.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, mostly the formats I play are just I don't play Goat as much. Like I play Goat like a couple years ago before I got into Edison really, I was mostly playing Goat. But I like Edison. I think there's certain things that do make it annoying sometimes, like mostly Black Wings and like a few problem cards where like Dust Shoot and something like Dark Arn where if you're playing against a deck that plays Dark Arn and they draw it in the first 3 turns, there's a high percentage you're going to lose. Just because you'll just die so quickly or they'll get a +2 or 3 if you don't have Solemn or something.
Yeah, I absolutely hate it. It's like my biggest pet peeve when I feel like I'm winning I get them on no
It's
cards.
just it's so
And they
easy
have
to
3
summon
darks
too.
engraved, and they
Yeah.
top deck Dark Arm.
Or even just like think about it like this way. Like if you like for example like let's say you're playing Blackwings and you like open like summon like Shura or something. Shura and then you have like Collude or something, and you have like you summon Blizzard. Like, all right, you're at 3 darks already, or something like Zombies, which I really like in Edison. If you have like one synchro with Goblin Zombie, you can just search like the 3rd dark and then discard it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I think that Dark Arm and Future Fusion against any Dragon Edison deck is definitely like
Future Fusion. Yeah, the first time that I played, our friend Nick Newberry, he drew Future Fusion both games in Dragon Turbo, and it is just not a fun time with that.
Even against like the regular just trap dragons, like I was playing like at one of the PS5 tournaments I was playing like a few months ago. The guy he opened Future Fusion turn 1, and I could kill like 1 red MD, but it's so hard to kill 2 of them if you don't have you need to have like the absolute perfect hand to kill 2 of them on the first turn because it's just absurd. Like, but yeah, it's just really really annoying. I think a card like that is just crazy.
Yeah, I've had games against Dragons where they did what you said, like they started their turn with 2.
Also, people are smarter now where they're putting them in defense, so you can't bring control and crash them now too, which is really annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a short story here. When I played against my friend, he put both of his in attack mode, and I had Soul of Purity with like either Plague Spreader or Orange Light. So I went like, I hit charge and paid absolutely no attention to what I milled. And then I just instinctively went Soul of Purity, summon the tuner, make Colossal Fighter. But what I didn't realize was that off of my charge, I hit like Garoth, Jane, Aaron. So no matter what I banish, my Colossal Fighter is going to be 2,900 instead of 2,800, and it was really sad actually.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
I was only able to kill one of them, and then you killed me.
Yeah, the I think like the Dragon Turbo and also just like a regular Dragon deck, they're really solid just because like Draco is just an insane card that exists. Like it's so hard to have a card that is just like, oh, I'm gonna go for game through whatever you have, or you can't do anything. Like
and they
that
can search that card off, bring it back.
Yeah, and also that's just like, yeah, definitely. I would say that. Have you played against the new version of like the Dragon deck that plays like, it's basically like a Dragon deck with most of the dragons, but it plays like Caius and Dark Armed and Hamster and Raikou instead of like Mass Dragons. So it's like a little bit more explosive.
I've watched our friend Adam Corey play it. I haven't actually sat down and played against it myself, but it does look pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's really good because you can just do like huge turns where you still have like Caius and Raikou and Hamster, but then you also just have the dragon package with, because like you can also play like Allure and Plague Spreader also, so you can have a little bit more consistency that way.
Yeah,
because I think some of the other dragons like Mass Dragon, Exploder Dragon, they're like not that good. Like I kind of just understand just playing like the dragon version with other stuff like Caius. Like I was sitting next to this guy at the Orlando RBT. I think the guy like went like 8-0 in Swiss, and he was playing like this. He was playing this guy who was also playing dragons with like a regular dragon version. And then he just like dropped like Dark Armed like and killed him with it. And like then like game 2 he had like Caius him like the guy just looked so stunned. I felt so bad for him just because he didn't even look like he was like misplaying or anything. He just was getting absolutely just punished by all. Yeah, that dude was drawing Fear Fusion like so much over the tournament though. He ended up losing in top 4, but it was still like wildly impressive because nobody had really played that type of dragon deck before.
Yeah, I've seen people that play the Raikou hamster build. Their opponent would like attack their hamster, so hamster lives. They set the Raikou, they flip the Raikou, they hit the back row, they mill a dragon, they tribute summon Darkness Metal, and it just spirals out of control for there. And I'm like, this all happened because one hamster flipped.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's part of the reason. Like Like Hamster and Raikou, I think that's like part of the reason why like Vayu is such a good deck, but also sometimes struggles to go second. Because like if you go first and you just set Hamster and they do something or attack it or whatever, you're having Raikou and then you're probably gonna have like Kaia's filling also. Like that's so it's the best deck that plays Hamster and Raikou.
Yeah. What is your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh card? If you have multiple,
Probably I would probably have to say a few favorites. I really like Kaia's a lot. I really like Breaker, Magical Warrior a lot.
Yeah, Breaker's cool.
And I really like Chaos Sorcerer, and probably an underrated one that I really like. I just really like the art of it. I really like Armageddon Knight.
Yeah, Armageddon Knight, the SJC playmat with Armageddon Knight on it.
Oh yeah, I have one of those. Yeah.
Do you really? That is so cool.
It was a regional top 8 playmat. It wasn't a SJC.
Oh, okay. So regional playmat. There's one.
Yeah.
There's the Armageddon Knight one, and then there's also a Doom Calibur Knight one.
Yeah, that's an SJC one.
Okay.
That's the I think like that's like from the 50th SJC or something. Because there's also a Dark End SJC mat, which was really nice too.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy how much Doom Calibur has fell from grace from the original format. Because now people are there's so many Treeborn Frogs by you.
Yeah, I mean it's sort of understandable. Because it's also just a weird design of a card that it's like an omni like field thing. Like there's not a lot of cards that are like that. Like a Floodgate where it's like, oh yeah, I guess sort of like Dark Dragon is like that, but I think if Doom Calibur was a warrior, though, it would be played more.
Yeah, I think so too. One of my first events I ever played in, I had this poor unfortunate guy that summoned 2 Doom Calibur Knights.
Oh my god.
And I was just like, I'll normal summon Card Trooper in Mill 3. And
yeah, I remember, I think the format before Tengu, so this was when like you could play like 3 Avarice and multiple Black Rose, and I played a version of Tengu that played Doom Calibur, like 2 or 3, and it was like pretty good. Like, because there weren't really a lot of like, I don't know. The Doom Calibur is definitely a weird card. It's definitely something that's like maybe it'll like come back in some version, but it's just a really like it's a card that has so many weaknesses, and also like is it really like the good of use of your normal summon if it's just gonna die next turn to whatever effect?
Yeah.
Like unless you're going for game through Gores, but or something like that.
I guess Doom Calibur does destroy Reborn Tengu, right? Negates the effect as well.
Yeah,
So
that's part of the reason why. Yeah.
Yeah, that I feel like outs to Tengu in that format are pretty limited.
Yeah, I mean there are a bunch. Like I mean, getting heralded is
Yeah.
the agent deck. Do you know how many boss monsters that deck plays?
I actually have it on my desk because Justin gave me a lot of it because BBG's having that Tengu.
Oh yeah, I'm excited about it. Yeah, I'm gonna
So,
definitely be there.
It's like BLS, Chaos Sorcerer, 3 Master Hyperions,
2 Christia,
2 Christia,
2 Tragodia.
2 Drag, yeah. And then you have Reborn. It's like bring any of those back.
Yeah, and you can also play Duality, which makes it you can just access them easier. That deck's really good. I definitely got some Leeching the Lights for that event because it's a card that has 1 printing, and I didn't have any, so I had to order 2 of them.
Yeah, I'm still missing several things. I've got to find some dualities. I have tour guides. From
Yeah,
new
so the
rarity
version,
collection.
are you gonna play? Because like the old version, it plays. You know, Birdman, the card Birdman.
Yeah, he gave me one of those as well.
Yeah, because you can summon with you can summon Trish on with the time balls with Birdman.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's pretty good actually.
Yeah, I think Thunder King should be main in that deck though, because Thunder King is so good in Tengu format. It's honestly amazing. They can't play duality. You contribute to stop something like Hyperion. It's very good if you're playing against plants and they have to make a Catastor or a Hyper Librarian in order to kill it. Like I really think Thunder King is very, very good.
That's
Because also against like I think Heroes is very good in Tengu also because of Shining, because being able to just Miracle Fusion for a guy who's 3,300 that also you get Stratos and Alias back to your hand once it dies is pretty crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. I played through more of actual Tengu format than I did of actual Edison format, and
Yeah.
I remember everything like that. Like Hyper Librarian, Formula Synchron, all of that stuff.
Because like back then people didn't play as Maxi as much as they do now, like online and stuff. So like I don't even really like 1-for-1 that much in the plan deck, just because like I don't want to discard Dandy and let him draw 2 because there's only 2 targets. So I'm just kind of like I'm just not gonna play it. I'm just gonna play Call and Scapegoat instead.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you play Tengu plants in that format?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I mean, my whole friend group has been playing that for like several years now. So like we've had it. I think the scrap deck is pretty fun too because it has that cool quick play spell, and also it has the built-in defense where if you warning Scrap Dragon, it gets the second effect like Light Darkest Dragon, where you special scrap from the graveyard.
Oh yeah, that's true. I actually forgot it even has that effect. It's been so long since I've seen someone just play scrap.
Yeah, because it's sort of just like a deck that plays Tengu and just a bunch of like level 4 dudes. Because you can just the play it's like you tribute tribute a scrap, send a scrap to the graveyard, draw a card, and then there's one that searches and you search the one that's special from the graveyard. So like that's an instant scrap dragon. You've already drawn one.
Wow, yeah, that's true. Ulti scrap dragons right now also are so cheap, and I think I'm gonna.
I really like those ultimates of those. They're really good. Like it would be crazy. Like I was talking to my friend Chris about this that a card like Warning in Edison would actually be pretty good for the format because a lot of the big problems of it are just things like Dark Armed or Pristia or even something like Substitute, where being able to stop one summon.
Yeah,
I think if Warning was at 2 in Edison, I think it would be a little bit. I think it would be good for the format in a way. I don't think Duality would be good for the format because that would be way too much help for a lot of decks, though.
Yeah, the format's already like pretty slow, and every deck plays triple Duality.
Imagine like playing against Blackwings, so they just Duality, add Whirlwind to their hand.
Oh yeah,
because Whirlwind was at 1 in Tengu, which is very weird.
Yeah, Whirlwind and Clue.
Yeah,
they had enough of Blackwing.
Yeah, but like, yeah, it definitely is like I wonder like next year, like, do you have any predictions on what decks like might rise up? Because it sort of feels like in Edison there's this sort of 4 or 5, maybe 6 or 7 things that are just so much like Vayu has won something like 4 of the biggest events this year, which I think is crazy.
Yeah, I think that people now recognize that Vayu is probably the best deck just because of the results that it's had.
But the thing is, it doesn't feel like that sometimes. Like when I play, like I think Blackwings is better than Vayu. I just think like the Vayu is just. It also is just a thing where it has so many one-ups like Burial and stuff that it's just. If everything is like going smoothly, it feels so good. But like I was playing in like the top 8, I was playing Vayu, game 2, and my mills were like Gores, Mirror Force, Torrential, and then my second mill was like Dust Shoot, Oppression,
every one of
Deep Prison. I was like, all right, like that's it.
Yeah, even with the results that Vayu has, I would rather play against Vayu than play against pure Blackwing. Literally,
yeah, I think pure Blackwing is a better. It has just like the matchup killer against a lot of different decks because even something like I think the reason why Blackwing I think is so good is just because against Frogs game 1 has a really good matchup against most of the top stuff. But Blackwings is more of a 50-50 because you can just take so much damage from piercing.
Yeah, like one Whirlwind, Sirocco, and Deborah. And
like I had a game I played against Blackwings in the 5K, and it was like I lost. It was round 4. And I drew 1 Spell Trap the entire game, which was an econ that I used to kill a Catastor. But I took like 5,000 damage, or 3,000 damage from a Sirocco, Bora, Gale boost off over Dupe Frog. And then he had 2 Kalutes when I tried to kill his Bora.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, like my hand wasn't even bad. Like I had like Monarchs and Boars and stuff, but it didn't even matter because the pressure was just so much.
Have I told you about how I lost to Blackwings in top 4 of that 5?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Okay. I'll tell it again just for the listeners here. It's so defeating. It's so defeating. So I lost to this guy in Swiss. He spanked me in Swiss and straight 2-0'd me. So
he also beat Adam by top decking Gale when it was like 1 of 3 out of 20 cards that he could top deck and top deck.
I heard about that on the stream too. Like I think Yeah, you told me about that. I was
Yeah,
like,
because
oh yeah, he has to
Adam
buy
was like
Gale.
he was like, what happened is he like brain controlled his alias and he thought he had like game, but the life points were wrong. But then he synchroed and he gave him the alias back instead of synchroing it with Blizzard, which is completely insane. Like if he
Wow.
had, yeah. So that was
That's crazy. See, like my thing is like very similar to that because the first time he misplayed was when I summoned Soul Purity and I normaled Orange Light. And I could just tell by how he was acting, he had Book of Moon. You know, like you just kind of know.
yeah.
And he booked my Orange Light while I had Plague in my graveyard. So I was like, I was so stunned. So I just summoned my Plague, made Thought
Yeah.
Ruler, you know, and I get him down to like very few cards. And he summons Sirocco and sets 2 into Heavy because I searched Heavy off Gold Sark. So naturally, I activate Heavy. I hit his Deep Res and he chains Legacy.
Yeah,
draws
I actually
20
was
cards.
thinking about that more. That does not seem as crazy, especially because he had Legacy. Because if he had like Starlight Road and Deep Prison or something like that, that wouldn't have been like that's definitely a weird play.
Yeah,
But makes it a little bit more sense than some of the other ones, I think.
yeah. And the card he drew off Legacy was Collude.
Yeah,
So
that's just
insane.
brutal.
And I thought about it. I was just like, you know, had I just attacked and not played Heavy, would he have been smart enough to Legacy at attack deck? And I don't think that he would have.
Yeah,
Maybe he
people playing
would have.
Legacy it's very annoying. Like when you heavy like I had a game I was playing online the other day where I like heavy to dude and his 3 back rows were like double Legacy Dushy that he waited. I'm like, okay, like
Oh no.
you got me. It is weird though because I don't think it's like that. It's just sort of like I've never been a huge fan of cards like that. Like I'm not even in like Goat. I don't like things like Jar of Greed that much. Like I think Upstart is just so like obviously those deck plays both, but it's just a weird thing where I'm going to use a deck slot where it's basically just it's just trying to bait something out. Like it's just I'm not. What are your feelings on Legacy? Because I'm not a huge fan, but I understand why people like it though.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I think that people like to play cards that when
It's
their
sort of
opponent
like it's like playing like a mini game inside. It's like playing a mini game inside of like Mario Party, like while you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
I it's all like it's sort of like the thing where like people are like there's a bunch of people who are really obsessed with, like the fairy deck and like how good it is and stuff. But really, it's I'm not talking about Christie Swarm. I'm just talking about like the pure fairies.
Yeah,
With, like,
yeah. Nova Summoner,
Right.
Angel.
Yeah, and like a lot of the like that deck is just it's not one. It's very weak to deck heavy, but also like I was listening to I think it was like James R who was talking about it. It's like people who play that deck are just trying to do. They're playing for like the purpose of trying to get like legacy +1s off getting MST or something like that.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It just Cody was he was running 2 of them in zombies though when he made top 8 and he said it was pretty good. But he was also playing 2 DD Crow in the main also, which was like very different.
Yeah, that is.
So that sort of like if you're playing something like that, like I think in a deck like Fairies where you want to see Herald or Honest or something like Gores even, that makes more sense. But just I don't know. It just seems like because the odds of a different card, like the difference between 38 and 40 if you're playing 2 Legacy, it's not even it's a whole nother turn because it's not like Upstart where you're just going to activate them.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I don't think that card is like bad or anything.
Yeah, I think it's just like fine. Like
it's just fine. When I was playing Blackwing, I would just normally rather have that card be like a real trap card most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, because like even something like Compulse or something is probably going to be more useful. Because like if you don't, because my theory is like if they don't kill it with something like MST or Heavy, you're going to end up having to use it on your turn, and basically you're just 1 turn behind the whole. In a way, like you're not really behind, but you're really just back to where you started, and you've gotten no value from it.
Those random times where it gets flipped when Dark Death Spirit is on the field.
I have not seen it in person. Prescott was saying that Mitchell did it twice against one guy in one match, though.
Wow. Yeah, I haven't seen it happen.
Did you see that? There was this crazy online deck that got top 8. I think it was an online thing that Prescott won like a few months ago, where the entire purpose of the deck was it was just frogs, but with 3 Jar of Greed, 3 Legacy, 2 Dark Dust Spirit, and creature swap. So it would summon Dark Dust Spirit, try and take their set Raikou because you couldn't take a fake space up because it would get popped. Legacy to draw 2, and then get Dark Dust Spirit back to your hand.
Wow, that's so funny. That's hilarious. He was using his brain, whoever built that deck.
Yeah, it was completely crazy. Like, that's also like just very funny to me. Just like the entire purpose of this is I'm going to summon Dark Dust Spirit and have like 6 draw traps.
That gives me some ideas. I tried to homebrew this deck. Do you know what Moja and King of the Beasts is?
Oh yeah. I've seen that.
Yeah. I tried to like homebrew a list with that and like Kinkabio, like you Kinkabio back the Moja, you tribute it for the Beast guy.
Oh, that's another thing that you can play in Tengu format is Chaos Piper. That deck's pretty good.
Yeah, I saw Playtest IRL posted like top deck list from a Tengu tournament they had, and I was like, because Mystic Piper is like one of my favorite cards, and I was like, I need to get Piper so I can actually play that deck.
Yeah, Cody was playing that for a while. I think he took it apart, but that deck's pretty solid because you have 3 Chaos Sorcerer, and then you can just have things like Battle Fader or Veiler or whatever.
Yeah, that card only has 1 print. Well, if I want to look into that, I probably need to
that's weird. Yeah, I don't think they're that much. I think like you could probably get them for like $12 each, maybe.
Yeah, might be worth looking into. There's a lot of cards for Tengu format that I feel like are probably going to end up getting bought out eventually. That's probably one of them.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff is being reprinted though. Like now, like it used to be. Trying to think of like what like hasn't been. No, yeah, mostly think of weird things like that, like things that just have like 1 printing or like.
Yeah, Leeching the Light.
I mean, Leeching the Light is only like 80 cents. Just there's 1 printing of it. So
yeah, it could definitely like if Tengu really takes off, people start playing it. It could get to a couple dollars probably.
It's just a very annoying thing where I knew I had them before, but then it's just like, no way, I'm actually gonna need some of these if we're gonna play in a tournament because I have to actually side deck against that deck. So
that's the spell. Like you target a light your opponent controls and a monster you control, and it gains that target's attack.
And it goes to 0.
And
so if you, for example, like if I have, let's just say I have Tengu and the opponent has Hyperion, my guy is going to go to 44 and your guy's going to 0. Wow. So basically, it's just you can kill them very quickly if they don't have Honest.
Wow, and even if they have Honest...
Oh, no, it doesn't go to 0. It doesn't go to 0. So
okay.
It's select 1 monster your opponent controls, but all face-up monsters on your side gain the attack. So if you had... let's say you had like two Dandy tokens and a Tengu, you would have a guy at 4,400 and 2 at 2,700.
And that gets even crazier if you have like BLS up when you activate
exactly
as well.
Yeah.
BLS is 5,700 attacks 2 times now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. BLS is just any format that has BLS that's like old. There's so many games where it's just you would have won and then BLS come down like. Especially with something where you can do like BLS Armory Arm, where that's literally just 8,000 if they have attack position monster.
Yeah,
because you can't Gorse through that because it's just game.
I was thinking the other day, I was like, man, I would definitely play Lightsworn and Tengu if Honest was at 2. Then someone was like, oh, but you don't want Honest at 2 because BLS exists.
Well, that's fair. I mean, even the 1 Honest in Agents, like that can be a big problem, especially just. That deck's really annoying because like the Gotchi guy is like really hard to kill. You're gonna need to Caius that or something. It's just it has 2 built-in defenses and it makes the agent guy like 2,200 or whatever, or like 2,000. So we can get over Thunder King, which is really annoying.
Yeah. I was going through and like I said, Justin gave me a lot of the deck, and I had some of it when I was still playing Modern and got new support. And I was just reading these cards, and I was like, this deck is actually so crazy in the fact that it has its own like Chaos Sorcerer, Master Hyperion.
Especially with priority too, because with priority doesn't even if it's not getting hit by warning or something like Thunder King, if it's getting bottomless, it's basically just a mini Dark Arm.
Yeah.
That there's no restrictions on, and you can banish from the field or graveyard to summon it.
This isn't that long after Edison format. It just seems like the game really
changed a lot.
Well, the turn after as the Shining Darkness format completely changed Yu-Gi-Oh because that created the X-Saber loops with Dark Soul and then Frog OTK. I didn't play during that format, but I am just kind of glad I didn't because that was also like when Infernities were sort of taking off as well. Because like I remember Infernity Barrier was insane because you could just search it.
Yeah.
But the X-Sabers, even in SSRs, they can be very annoying. I was playing this one game the other day where I got looped because the guy, he like used Gotems and he had summoned Brionic. And then he bounced his own Faltrel to summon it again and then do the whole thing again. I'm like, okay, like, wow.
I always tell people like it's odd that the two decks I have the most time into in Edison is Lightsworn / Christia and then also X Saber. I played X Saber for like 6 months, hardcore, and that was just a deck that when you would win, your opponent never stood a chance. But when you would lose, it just felt so bad.
Yeah, it's like a weird thing where if you get the setup thing and you get like resolve the trap that specials too. Like, because the thing is because Rescue Cat wasn't banned until Tengu format. So there was a whole format where they had Rescue Cat with Dark Soul, and that was the old errata version where it's each copy. So it's not it's each it's not like a once per turn per the effect. So like if you could bring it back and then do it again,
then you get multiple searches off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I played, our locals was in a flea market in my town, and it was just a very small group of people. Honestly, the same group of people that I play Edison with. So I never really got exposed to like a lot of the really crazy stuff like Frog FTK and stuff like that. But I remember getting Rescue Catted into like Airbellum Dark Soul and Default Troll, and that was just very
Yeah, well,
dark.
do you know anything about Synchro Cat format? So that was like right before 2009 Nats when the starter deck came out. I didn't go to Nats that year, but so basically, Rescue Cat was at 2, I think, and you still had like Cold Waves, and you still had Crush Card also. So the deck's playing like multiple Gravekeeper's Guard, because what it could do is you go Summoner Monk, you go Cold Wave Summoner Monk, discard a spell, summon 2 Arabellums, make Arcanine Magician, pop 2, get a card out your hand. And then you still had like Avarice. But what's amazing is there were other beasts they played. They played, Sea Koala?
Yeah, Sea Koala.
So yeah, you could summon Sea Koala, make the attack of the monster 0, attack with it, and then attack with Arabellum. Or you could summon Dark Panther and just be like, oh, I'm going to copy JD. I'm going to copy Dark Armed. I'm going to copy Brionic.
And they still had, was Dark Strike Fighter still legal at that time too?
I'm not 100% sure. I think it was banned because I think it was just a big, like, I think that it was just, there was a format where Dark Strike Fighter was just insane because you could just get about 3,500 damage on, if you do 3,500, it's game because it's just so easy to summon. I mean, even I remember like Black Salvo was decent because you just summon Dark Strike Fighter easily.
Yeah.
Like it made games so short because of existing. It was just such a mistake of a card that they should never have made.
Yeah. I remember when that card was like announced that they were going to errata it and unban it. Everyone was like freaking out. And then they just completely just ruined that card. I mean, I guess they made it probably what it should have been originally.
Yeah, because also like things like, let's say you play like Return and then you summon Dark Strike Fighter. Even if you don't kill them, that's like 5,000 damage on the field just all the monsters you're bringing back.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, wait, he doesn't have to distribute himself. It's distribute any monster?
Yeah, that was the old printing, yes.
What the heck?
Yeah, I'm going to double check, but I'm pretty sure.
Even more.
Yeah, so if you had 4 monsters, you could attack with them. And then...
Wow, yeah, you're right. That's insane. Yeah,
so that's why
it had to tribute itself, but nope.
No, you can tribute itself. So what you can do is, let's say you're at 6,000 and I have Dark Strike Fighter, for example, maybe like a Shura and like a Bora or something. Or you're at 8,000. I can attack for 35. I can attack for 61 and then tribute the other 2 monsters for game. And even if it just was insane. It made no sense that existed. Because it just made it like, basically it was sort of like playing Yu-Gi-Oh when you had like 4,000 life points, because it was so easy to make, and it was also at 3. So it wasn't like, oh, I bottomlessed it, it's gone.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
For example, like if you summoned it and they bottomlessed it, they could priority effect to tribute either itself or the another monster on the field for game 2.
Yeah. So there was like pretty much no stopping it.
Yeah, it was very, very bad. I actually do sort of like the Tell That format a little bit, just because I think the mirror is kind of fun. Lightsworn is pretty fun in that format too.
You said this is when they don't have charge?
No, they had charge then.
Oh, they had charge then. Okay.
Yeah, so they had JD was at 2. They had 3 Honest, 3 Lumina, 3 charge. It was basically full power Lightsworn, but just it wasn't as good because Tell That was the best deck, and also because people played Depression and made deck.
Yeah.
Basically, whenever I play Tell That, we just gentleman's agreement, don't play Oppression because it's not. There's so much few spell trap removal in that format. There's like Breaker, Heavy, MST, and then Wing Blast. So if you have like start, because a lot of times like games would just end where you have like start a Stark Iron with a set Oppression. There's no possible way they can kill you.
Yeah. Unless
they have like brain control or something. And that was also when Solemn was at 3, so you still had like all of the protection of 3 Solemns.
That format is crazy. I've only ever heard people talk about it. I've never played it.
I mean, you can definitely like, even just like with an average hand, because what's really weird is the format in the 08 Nats, Malicious was at 2, and then they're like, you know what? Synchros are coming out. Let's put Malicious back at 3.
Oh,
I'm sure this will not have consequences to when we're printing Krebons and having synchros, because like also Crush Card was out too. So if you have 3 Malicious and you have D-Draw and Crush Card, you can just Crush Card on your opponent's standby phase of the first turn.
Yeah.
Because you just, unless they have DD Crow. So Teleport was just also wild too, because you could also just like summon Stratos or like summon a Grepher or something, discard, and then just like teleport for like levels. Because Goyo, you had 3 Goyos then.
Wow, that's all I can say about some of this stuff. Is like I thought that Yu-Gi-Oh was dark, like around the ruler format, which it was, but some of the stuff
it was. That's also like the same reason why like Dragon Turbo is so like to have Rejuve be discards also completely is absurd. That it honestly just should have not been printed that way, because it creates these decks where they use so many cards and it doesn't matter because they're getting all the advantage back at the end of the turn.
Yeah.
But like I didn't play as much of them, but wasn't it true that like Spellbooks could like hang with Dragon Rulers because of Jowgen and Spellbook of Judgment and stuff? Like it wasn't just like Dragon Rulers were by far the only deck. Like
like you had Dragon Rulers would do their little thing, Super Reju, where they draw all their Maxi, their Veilers, and the good thing about Spellbook was like Veiler and Maxi actually weren't like super great.
Yeah, because you're doing like one special summoning a turn. Maybe.
Yeah. So then they would just do the same thing at their end phase, the Judgment, where they would end on like a set fate with a Jowgen in defense. So now
being able to just special summon any spellcaster in the end phase is the most insane thing ever, and that's the second effect of the card.
Yeah, and they could. I believe they also played Kaiko as well. So Kaiko and Jowgen. Yeah. I remember when I packed a Judgment like the weekend it came out. And somebody was like, "Oh, that's like $120, And I was like, "Why?" And I read it, and I was like, "Bro, this feels like this was an anime card. Like, what were they thinking printing this?"
Also, it's in an archetype where everything is searchable. So it's not even like, "Oh, here's a generic spell that's not searchable that you actually have to draw it."
Yeah,
it's like no, you can just search it.
It was like in the first deck where they decided they were going to make every card in the whole deck searchable by every card in the whole deck. I remember like, just Spellbook Star.
I remember like I didn't have like I think I played like Evil Storm because like it was decent against Dragon Rulers, but it really like actually wasn't. Like people say, "Oh, it's a great matchup." Like maybe it won 40% of the time, but it had a win rate of probably I would say 15% against Spellbooks. It got absolutely destroyed by Spellbooks.
Yeah. I remember being at a regional. It was a Star City Games regional, and walking by a table and seeing a 4,200 Jowgen on the field because of Spellbook Star Hall. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, That Jalgan has no business.
Jalgan has always been a hilarious card. Like, I think it's kind of funny in GOAT too, because you can just summon it and then priority discard and pop like BOS or any like Thousand Eyes or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it is definitely like a funny card, just also because of people who play last turn, also because of like he just wall revealing light last turn for game.
Yeah, my last build of pure Lightsworn I played before I switched to Christia, I actually sideboarded Jalgan because you could mill it, then like Beckoning Light back like double JD Jalgan, and just kill them.
So it's like a mini Fossil Dino.
Yeah, and you could also like summon it to stun them out, and they try to run it over you, honest. So that's pretty funny.
Yeah. Herald is like crazy good though. Like I am always fearful whenever I'm playing a deck that plays Herald, because if I try to do like some synchro, like if I try to like sync up or something and use the effect or like Caius, I'm just, my thing's just gonna die.
Yeah.
So it's just very annoying, like trying to thinking about playing around it. I find that is a big advantage of decks that play Herald and Edison.
My second, my third, I think it was my second Hero Frog opponent at the 5K. After I beat him, I walked away and my friend was like, "Oh, how did you win?" And I was like, "Orange Light." And he was like, "Oh, did you like Orange Light as Monarch or something?" And I was like, "No. I beat him with Orange Light. I attacked his Malicious Edge and double honested. He was at 2,900. So I've never won with Orange Light like that before.
Yeah, because it's also a tuner. Like, that card is actually crazy if you think about it. Like,
yeah.
And the thing with Beckoning, where you can just add back like Herald, a Fairy, JD, and like something like Honest or something, like that is so insane. Like, no other deck can just be like, "Oh, I'm just gonna pick out the 4 exact cards I need from my graveyard."
Yeah.
One card.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the reason why I think Christmas Horn is so good, is because it makes Beckoning better too.
Yeah, Beckoning's wild. Like, the amount of times I've went like summon Soul of Purity, summon Orange Light, make like Stardust or whatever level 8, and that gives me the other 2 fairies for Christia in the graveyard. Crazy, the amount of times that's happened.
Yeah, like I remember, because like I've had a lot of games against Lightsworn, especially when Consecrated Light came out when I was playing zombies, where I just couldn't kill it just because I started just like side decking like Soul Taker and stuff, because I had like 2 Pyramid Turtles that could kill it, and also because Tragodia was at 3, you can't summon Tragodia with Consecrated Lights out. So yeah, 3 Tragodia was some wild. Because basically it meant you have an insanely high chance of opening it. Then you can either just make it like whatever level and then use it with Diva, or you can summon Caius.
Yeah,
and having 3 burials was completely absurd also too, because you just are gonna get to the combo where you have Mizuki, and then like I think Allure was that too in that format too. Like everything that format is sort of just like Edison Supercharged, where everything is just at its higher power level. But the Twilight deck was probably the best deck, just because 3 Necrogardener was very, very good, and having 3 Lumina, 3 Honest, 3 Charge, and also being able to play like Dark Arm and Chaos Sorcerer.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've played Twilight a little bit in Edison, and it doesn't really feel super great. I'm sure it felt a lot better back then.
Yeah, Cody had that version where he was playing like Caius and Pot of Avarice. It was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But I just think Beckoning is so much better than Pot of Avarice and Lightsworn that I don't know. I think Pot of Avarice can be sort of like, it is weird though, like think about like all the decks that play Pot of Avarice and Edison are just the decks that are not on the top level.
Yeah.
Because it's, oh, did I tell you about the guy I played online who was playing pure Lightsworn with the Plant Burn engine, and it was so good?
No, I don't think you did.
Yeah, so I was playing this guy. Do you know the Amaryllis and like Titanial and then the equip spells and Lone Fire?
Yeah.
So basically, it was just playing pure Lightsworn with a small plant equip package, while also being able to just summon Amaryllis every turn. It was so much pressure, because you could also just like JD, nuke the board, attack, and then special to Amaryllis and defense in the end phase. Like, it was really, really good. I think that version is definitely worth trying. I think the Amaryllis deck is a little bit, I don't think it's like great. I think it's like a fine deck. It is very good side deck cards that it can side, like Skill Drain and Oppression and stuff like Fiend Comedian and stuff.
Yeah,
but
Fiend Comedian.
I think that the Lightsworn version was like I think it maybe just because I was playing Frogs, where that's just a bad matchup for that type of deck, but that deck is very, I was like, oh shit, I gotta try that, because I I heard like one of like the top players played that in one of like the Edison World Championships.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I think I heard that before too. Well, we are about a little over the hour mark. That's usually where I try to stop these. But I really enjoyed this. I feel like we should actually do like a follow up, like a part 2 to this, because I kind of
Oh yeah,
felt like
I'd be down. Yeah, for sure. I can definitely. We could also focus more on like we could do like an episode of like 2 old formats where we talk about different. I could like teach you about like what certain things and that type of how the game was then and how like
Yeah.
certain things like that.
that sounds fun to me. We're good at doing some old man rambling here. Okay, well, thank you so much for sitting down with me today. I'm going to edit this and get this up today. So, yeah.
All right, appreciate it.
I'll see you here in a couple hours at the Switch.
Yeah, yeah. See ya. Drive safe.
All right, you too. See ya.
Okay, guys. Well, if you stuck around to the very end of this podcast, I would like to say I apologize if you had some times where you could not hear me. I actually had to go in here and manually recreate some of my audio because my audio was very, very low, almost inaudible. I have no idea what happened. I've never had that happen during a podcast before. So I tried to go in and reconstruct it as best as I could, so I do apologize for that. I do think I know what caused it, but hopefully we do not have that problem in the future. I would also like to say this has probably been one of my favorite episodes I've done so far. Just really enjoy learning new things about the game that I didn't know previously, especially from someone like Sasha who has played for so long. It's very, very cool to get that insight and just learn some things about the game I didn't know. So we're definitely going to have Sasha back on very soon for a part 2 follow-up to this. And maybe we'll delve a little bit more into some of Yu-Gi-Oh's history that I still don't know about. So thank you guys for listening, and we will see you guys on the next one.